Hello and good afternoon on Friday the 19th of September, nearly 2 weeks since the last day of Dragon's Back Race 2025. Now it's taken me a little while to put this summary footage together. Reason being, I was going to record some of it down on the beach in Woolacombe, and Woolacombe is a wonderful place to if you're missing the Welsh mountains, get a little bit of scrambling in whilst also recovering on a dead flat beach. But the weather was appalling, and every time I went to get the camera out, share my thoughts, it was non-conducive. So I didn't want to just sit behind a desk and the camera. I wanted to be out and about, so I recorded some footage the other day on the Flitchway and there was no sound. So I'm going for a walk this time, and I've checked all the tech. I know it's working, so we can definitely put some thoughts together. So, as I said beforehand, I didn't take my GoPro because I wanted to focus on the event. So this summary will be from the best of my memory. I'll put it in chronological order and I'll intersperse it with a few little photos and video clips of the event itself. So here goes. Right, before we get into the summary itself, let's first of all remind ourselves what Dragon's Back Race is. It's near enough 236 miles, working its way down from Conwy Castle in the north of Wales all the way down to Cardiff Castle in the south of Wales. En route, it takes in just about every peak that there can be going down the spine of Wales, hence the name Dragon's Back, and should be around about 55,000 feet of climbing. Now, if for whatever reason you don't meet the full dragon and something happens, be it injury, time out, whatever, then there's the opportunity to do the hatchling course, which is a little bit more than half, because most hatchlings will have got through day 1, day 2, day 3 or whatever before they drop to hatchling, and some of the hatchling course is a little bit more than half of the day's mileage. So you end up with, yeah, pushing more like 130 miles, 135 maybe, and a fair chunk of the climbing, probably around 35,000 feet of climbing. So what happened? Let's find out. Oh, before we find out what happened, let's just remind you who I am. I'm a miler, an Essex miler at that. Essex is known to be very flat, county in England, and a mile is a very short distance, and it's all about, it's usually run on the flat as well, usually run on the flat. But I did train myself and condition myself through many an ordeal over the last 18 months to get in shape to take on the dragon, and way outside my comfort zone, way outside. I mean, we couldn't get further outside, to be honest, and this is what happened. So first off, we have the choice of when to get up to Conwy. Now, registration is on Sunday the 31st of August, and I'd originally booked accommodation for just that Saturday night into Sunday. However, I think it was a sensible move to, I'd booked accommodation for that Sunday night. However, we have a WhatsApp group going for the event, and a few people in there suggested you might want to get yourself up there on the Saturday just to sort of take the journey out of your body and also settle those nerves. Now that proved to be a great idea. So I had another night to the Erskine Arms in Conwy. Now the Erskine Arms was chosen because it's basically the closest to the start line. We're talking about 100 meters from the start line of the Dragon's Back race. So perfect place for accommodation. Loads of other dragons have booked themselves in there as well. And yeah, we got up there on the Saturday around about midday. Izzy and Nacho went up. They were staying in Llandudno, a bit down the road as well. And yeah, I mean, the nerves were pretty full on that Saturday, and probably the main thing that Izzy and I were discussing was the fact that the weather forecast for the Monday was forecast to be 45 mile-an-hour winds, gusting 50, hail, thunder, lightning, and rain, and basically not good weather. And although we recce'd leg 1 in pretty horrendous conditions, probably quite similar to that without the hail and thunder, neither of us really fancied going over Crib Goch in those conditions. So that was most of our debate and anxiety on the Saturday night, and you know, everybody has pre-race nerves, but when you throw in a little bit of risque de more, then yeah, it just takes those pre-race nerves to another level. Anyway, Sunday morning, Izzy phones me and says, "Dad, have you seen your emails? There's a potential alternative route for day one, avoiding Crib Goch and going up the pig track, the adverse weather route." So now I'm thinking, okay, if we do go over Crib Goch, it's because it's considered, in quotes, safe. And if we don't go over Crib Goch, well, you know, it's because the weather's no good. So we're going to be safe, we're going to survive. So that calmed my nerves a bit. It didn't say that we're going to find out until in the race, because we'll be at the checkpoint at Penny Pass before we head off to Crib Goch is when we'll be told what course we're going to face. But I say the nerves did calm a little bit. Anyway, so that Sunday, 12 o'clock, registration opens. Izzy and I are in the queue before 12, get chatting to a few people that I met on my recce with Ourea Adventures a while back. Lovely to get into the actual main event village, I suppose you call it, and see Trina on the info point. And great, because we're going to see Trina all week on the info point, which is so lucky for me and Izzy to actually have a family member in camp with us. And so nice to see a lot of the faces from the WhatsApp group and the Facebook groups and things, and really start to feel like it's proper real, because my memory from last year volunteering felt like far less than a year ago. I remember looking out from info point and thinking, my God, these guys tomorrow morning, and ladies, tomorrow morning are going to take on the dragon. What must it feel like? Well, now I know, because I was there, I was one of them. So we spent a lot of time faffing about weighing that overnight bag and that drop bag, so I was glad to just get them handed in. Now surprisingly, my camp bag, which can come in at 15 kgs, came in at 14.5 kgs, which was very surprising. But they had a proper flatbed scale, which I guess is dead accurate, and I had one of those hang it things, so hence the inaccuracy, I guess. However, it worked in my favour. It was underweight. So what to do? I mean, I didn't really want to put any more food in because I'm pretty confident that I had over-catered on food now. So in the end, I decided I would put in my 500 Gs, half kg, full-on proper Craghoppers Mac for camp, not to run in, but just for camp. And because we knew the weather was going to be pretty awful, and I think if your heel Mac had got soaked, you don't really want to wear that around camp as well. So yeah, in it went, weighed it again, 15.0 kgs on the nose, goodbye, off to camp. That goes off to camp one. Drop bag came in tiny bit light, but yeah, I was never too concerned about that one, so that was gone as well, and off they go. And off to registration, which was the whole of us in one sitting at 5:30. And once again, Shane, I think he gave more of a clue that we weren't going over Crib Goch, because I think his words were more like, it's unlikely you'll be going over Crib Goch, but we won't let you know again till Penny Pass. But yeah, I mean, there's concerns about the weather, plus somebody, poor soul, 36-year-old, I think, fell off Crib Goch the week before as well, so I'm sure that was playing on their mind. Anyway, that was registration, all that process, and what more to say, really? That's all the pre-race stuff. Off to bed, get an early night, didn't really sleep that much, but that wasn't expected to sleep really. And up at 4:30, I think, or maybe 4:45, usual breakfast, fruit and fibre, get a coffee down me and a banana. And then 5:30 we start gathering outside Conwy Castle, and then eventually filter in. Jenny and Nacho got a great spot up on the turrets to watch me and Izzy down there. And I tell you what, lining up, I've lined up for so many events, track races, ultras, but looking around, there's 300 odd people, and this is one seriously special start line, because to just, I said before, just turn up and consider even attempting day one of Dragon's Back, you've got to be a bit of a nutcase, and you've got to be a bit, yeah, I mean, they're special people. I mean, they really are. I mean, myself included. It's something I would never ever have thought in a million years 2 years ago that I would be doing. And so I say, just to toe the start line and be there is one of the most special start lines you can ever stand on. And given the weather as well, which was true to its word, not looking like it's going to be certainly not going to be a heat wave this year. Certainly wasn't a heat wave. And yeah, then I've started to get some stories. One guy tapped me on the shoulder, he said, "Oh, I saw your videos about your atrial fibrillation. I was through that, I had that last year. I had to pull out at one of the checkpoints." And then you start to get feeling for other stories. And I know leading up to this in the WhatsApp group, there's all sorts of stories about people's drama they face just getting to the start line. So yeah, an incredible start line. Hugely intense, really is. Very special, very incredible.
Are you excited? Yeah! Are you nervous? Yeah! Okay, so we made a decision about Crib Goch. You're not going over Crib Goch today. You're going to go via the pig track. So if you have a GPX, you can switch it to that alternative route. It's still going to be a pretty wild day in the mountains. I think you'll have a very full value day, so enjoy what you'll all be doing the same course. I think that's the most important thing. As we start, would it be possible to have some of the women on the front start line as well, not just a line of men? It'd be good to have some representation. Thank you very much. Good luck out there today. I'll see you at 1.
Bang, red flare, no choir this year, but still incredible atmosphere, and we're off and running. Didn't have to do the castle walls, we're straight out onto the course this year, and saw Katrina at about half a mile in, just directing us as one of her marshal roles, and then we're out into the fields and starting our first climb. Sunrise was out of this world. I didn't take any pictures, so you won't see them flashing up on the screen, but it really was out of this world. 2 miles in, Izzy's one of her poles broke, which so she was Izzy one pole for the rest of the whole event. And yeah, what can I say? We're off and running now. Weather, as I say, was grim, but so nothing like as windy as when me and Izzy recce'd. So we were quite au fait with that sort of terrain in those sort of conditions. But you was chucking it down. My higher state waterproof 15,000 hydrostatic performed extraordinarily well considering how little I paid for it, and I never felt cold. I'm glad I bought my Lecky shark attachment gloves just before, which was a good investment because they're warm and they've got a waterproof cover that tucks out of the of a little hideaway hole in there. They were brilliant and made good progress. However, early doors we had one descent at about 8 miles where I was already getting cramps, and that's probably my biggest concern. My thoughts now, reflecting back, were that it was maybe tapering too early. The last big bit of elevation I did was Helvellyn in the end of July, and I hadn't done any elevation to speak of all through August. And I think the climbing and descending was just a shock to the muscles. Anyway, chucked a load of salt tablets in, kept eating, kept munching, and just hope for the best really. You just carry on, don't you? And obviously less worrying because we're likely with this weather not to be going over Crib Goch. Oh, I should tell you, I forgot. Shane did announce on the start line that we're not going over Crib Goch. So in my mind now, I'm far more relaxed, far more relaxed. You just got to crack on through the weather. without the concern for going over such a ridge in this stormy weather. Anyway, so we 8 miles cramps, crack on, keep going. Anyway, we had on our watches GPX file, but Chris Muse, one of the guys in the WhatsApp group, had very kindly sent us GPX files with the ability to put the checkpoints in and your watch tell you when the next checkpoint is expected or what time you're likely to get there. And that's great because as I was setting off, I had a little thing on my vest, little laminate that told me the guidance times for all the checkpoints, and we were basically not smashing them, but 10 minutes up on the first one, 20 minutes up on the second, 30 minutes up I think on the third, so making good progress. And the crucial one is checkpoint 5, where you're at the foot of Trefan, because I had a target in my mind, I had to get there by 12 o'clock, and with the weather as it was, obviously that was going to be a harder challenge than perhaps other times. However, by the time I got through checkpoint 4, it was suggesting something like 12:05 for checkpoint 5, which is, bear in mind the cutoff there is 2 o'clock, is a huge margin and way above expectations. However, the big descent down to checkpoint 5 was, let's just say, very wet. Everywhere where there would normally be a little stream was like a sort of waterfall or a gushing torrent. There was mountain rescue people handing out or reaching across with a pole to help you go across on some of the crossings. I took advantage of that because, well, better to stay safe, and it's something they're offering to everybody, so, you know. Anyway, cut long story short, Izzy got down that descent a bit quicker than me and got into checkpoint 5 a little quicker than me, but I got in there at 12:15. And that is a handsome margin to give myself a chance to get across Trefan and the Glidders. So I didn't faff about in there, just filled my water bladder straight up, and was probably 5 minutes in that checkpoint before setting off on the climb up Trefan. Climb up Trefan went very well, probably one of the strongest climbs I've done up there. Very consistent, didn't really stop for breathers, just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And the great advantage on that climb was when we got to the top, of course, there's other dragons around you, so trying to find that scramble line to the very summit, which foxed me and Izzy when we did it on our recce, was not an issue. I just followed other dragons, and it was a hairy scramble. It wasn't probably the easiest route to make it to the actual summit, but we didn't lose, or I didn't lose any time at all. I say we because Izzy and I have been running our own race, but we were pretty much locked together, just pure coincidentally, right up to this point. And the descent off Trefan and then the climb up to the Glidders, again, absolutely locked together. Also, Gareth Perrin, one of the guys from our recce, and also I did the Wales 50 with him. I pulled out halfway through the Wales 50, but he carried on and finished by about 8 o'clock, which was a cracking run. But I consider him a similar-ish sort of athlete to I, and yeah, and the proof is we were pretty much bang on pace at that particular point as well. However, Gareth remembered the keep to the right line, climbing up to the Glidders, and I followed him. Izzy eventually followed me, and we found a good way to the top there. I call them the Game of Thrones mountains, those ones, because there's loads of weird rocks all gianting out like that, that throne on Game of Thrones. And the terrain up there is very rocky and very slippy and very, can't really get a great pace on. However, we did keep moving, and then there's a big descent down from there to Penny Pass. Weather's pretty awful still, and I've just about moved ahead of Isabelle, but the good news is 4:40 I think you have to hit that for cut-off and guidance time, and I was there at 3:50, which meant that all I had to do was fill my water bladder up, get out of there, get up the pig track to the last cut-off at 7 p.m, almost the summit of Snowdon. And day one is actually looking like a realistic achievement. Something that going into this event I was very concerned about, just getting through day one. And sure enough, at that checkpoint, Izzy came in about 5 minutes behind me. She said she wanted to use the toilets and all sorts, so I decided, she said, just crack on Dad, I'll see you up the pig track. So I filled my water bladder up, I chucked about 8 electrolyte tablets in, provided by Precision Hydration, because they were sponsoring the event. The thing is, this was because I'm chucking loads of salt tablets down, but the cramps are still playing up, so I thought chuck in a load of electrolytes as well and just over engineer it. However, I made a bit of a mistake. Chucked them in a 3 litre water bladder, did the top up, and then I'm setting off up the pig track, and all of a sudden I can feel my rucksack's like getting very, very, very uncomfortable. I thought, I've got to adjust that, there's something going wrong here. So I took it off, and the water bladder was about to explode. No word of a lie, I couldn't get the slidey bit off the top. It was so sort of like forced in. However, I did. There's a massive whoosh of air, and of course the effervescent tablets had nowhere to go, did they? The air was just absolutely filling up the bladder almost to exploding point. If that had exploded and I'd lost my water capacity to carry water with what we had ahead of us, it would have been a completely different story for day one. So thank you for me spotting that quick enough, getting that sorted. Anyway, pig track weather really did close in. I mean, we had some big old gusts tossing us about up there. We had a hailstorm again, and full test of the waterproofs. And that pig track, do you know what? It seems to go on forever and ever. Whether it's much quicker than going across Crib Goch, I don't know. But anyway, we did, of course, make that cut off the 7 PM one. I think from memory about 5:50. Something like that seems to feel right. I know it was way inside 7 o'clock anyway. But you climb Snowdon, you come down the Watkin Path, you lose a lot of elevation, and then you've got one more scrambly peak. Can't remember the name of it, I'll put it up in the title here. But you've got one more scrambly peak to do on day one. And I'm not with Izzy, she's my guide normally, keeps me safe. And I know this one can be tricky, and it was a little bit misty, couldn't really sort of see perfectly. And so I just remembered what Izzy taught me, which is look for the brown rock, because that shows you where people have walked before, and look for the little cairns as well. There'll be little cairns, little piles of rock that you can, which tells you a good path to take. However, there's loads of paths up there, so there's loads of brown rock opportunities. And what happened was I was on my own, but I had a couple of other dragons beginning to follow me as if I sort of knew what I was doing, and clearly I don't know what I'm doing. But anyway, they were following me, I had company, and cut long story short, we drifted very, very far over to the left, so far over to the left that on our left was pretty much the sheer drop of that particular peak. It was still a path ahead of us. We could see it's been used before. There was brown rock, all polished, but it was a hard scramble. I couldn't even do it with my feet. I had to get my knees up and just sort of yank my body up a few times and just hope for the best. And afterwards in camp, one of the guys who I was on a Ourea Adventures recce with said, "I saw you guys up ahead. What on earth were you doing so far over to the left? That has got to be the hairiest route to take over there." And sure enough, it was. However, we survived. We got over. We got through it. And then you get a tiny little runnable bit through some sheep tracks, some sheep trods on a relatively flat bit. I didn't really run. I tried to, but I knew now I'm going to get into camp at 10 or before 10, and it's about conserving energy, really, isn't it? So last descent, we're up there on the top of the peak, down in the valley. You can see camp in daylight, and all you got to do, I say all you got to do, is get down that last descent, which can take about an hour, to be fair, even though you can actually see camp down below, and it's only probably about 1.5 miles. And I went over probably about, I was going to say 30, but it's probably 10 times in total. And when you go over, you just slide, and then you get up again and hope you don't sort of damage anything or land on a rock. Lots of ferns, you can't really see what you're falling over on. And one lady, poor thing, did take a bit of a tumble in there and had to be airlifted off at about 10:30 at night. But I survived, got down there, and then there's 600 metres of road to run into camp with another guy, and we got in at 8:20. And I'll tell you what, the elation of just achieving day one, for me, is as good as doing the whole Dragon's Back, to be honest. As a miler in Essex, it's something I was very concerned about. There was a high chance of just not meeting the cut-offs on day one, and to actually get out and finish it in daylight and get into camp with, I must add, Isabelle only 10 minutes behind me, was a right result for the day. Right result. Doesn't end there though, does it? This is Dragon's Back. You don't just go and have a shower now in your nice posh hotel and have a beer and reflect. Oh no, what you got to do is you got to find your first tent 20. Camp bags are thrown in there already, and when I get there there's a couple of guys getting changed, and I said, is anybody asleep already? Yep, apparently 2 people are asleep already. They must have got in something like 4 o'clock to have already done all their admin and be having a kip. So I don't really want to disturb them, and it's getting dark now, but I've got to set my lilo up. I've got to blow it up, which makes a right old racket. Got to blow up my inflatable pillow as well and get my sleeping bag laid out. Try to do it all as quietly as I could without disturbing the guy who was already asleep in my little compartment bit, and then get some dry clothes on and get over to the canteen and get some food in. Now, actually, the canteen being open was my dream on day one, to actually be able to queue up like a normal person, have normal dinner without having the post 10 o'clock rehydrated food or whatever is on offer, microwave food.
How was day one of Dragons?
It was absolutely awesome. Well, she told me to go. I think she got fed up with me. Yeah, well, I'm glad of that, because I would have more about doing that. Just, well, no, you could still see where you're going. But that last hill was all on sit down.
On your bum?
Sit down, get up again. Sit down, get up again.
That's why it's so quick.
I just couldn't stay on my feet. And I slipped on rocks as well. My shoes are supposed to be brilliant on rocks. I really had an adventure from it. We did it. There was nothing to make it rocky, because in our records it was dry, but there was like waterfalls coming down where there shouldn't be waterfalls.
Yeah, I did feel sorry for you when we were driving, and it was just like hammering it down.
Oh, when we were on the picture.
Huh? It's mental.
That's up from Nosh, ate plenty of it, sat down with Izzy and got to work filling up the water bladder, getting the food back into my kit bag, ready for the next day. Actually, on that point, food. Didn't eat enough on day one, didn't eat anywhere near enough. I probably ate about half of what I'd planned to eat. I think it comes down to concentrating so much because of conditions. You're just not thinking about eating, even though you see other people eating, and also I couldn't eat. It is very hard, even with the naked bars, to make it go to a gloop that you can actually swallow. Even with loads of water, it was just remaining like powder almost in my mouth, so that puts you off eating. Should I have had more variety? Probably, yeah, that would have been a good idea. I think chocolate pancakes, maybe a couple more boost bars, but anyway, it is what it is, and I didn't eat enough. But anyway, made up for that in camp, had a good old nosh, had lots of desserts, and I think me and Izzy were away to our beds at midnight. And yeah, I get in, I lay on my back, and I say to myself, you must fall asleep. You must fall asleep straight away, because you're getting up at 4:30 in the morning and you'll need that 4 hours sleep to recharge. And so I lay there, and I lay there, and I lay there, and I promise you I had zero sleep, because you know you're laying awake. You just, well, my watch told me I had zero sleep as well, and my body battery told me I had zero sleep in the morning on my Garmin, so I had zero sleep. However, 4:30 comes around, so what do? Just get up, don't you? And get your sleeping bag rolled up, get your kit bag done, get kit check, get some breakfast inside you, and I was ready to roll at 5:40 in the morning. And what do? You might as well just go into the start pen with your other 6 o'clock buddies and get ready to roll, which we did, me and Izzy. 6 o'clock, Izzy, I could tell, was in real high spirits. I probably was letting the fact that I hadn't slept play on my mind too much, and I didn't particularly feel overly energetic either. And the first 2 miles of day 2 is runnable, it's on the road, and I knew straight away that the legs were having none of it, to be honest. And they were running, but there was absolutely zero bounce, and I even felt the beginnings of DOMs creeping in already. So to cut a long story short, let's fire forward to about 2 hours into day 2, and oh no, not 2 hours, an hour in, let's say 7 o'clock, and Izzy's started to pile on ahead because she can sense that I'm just not making the sort of progress that she can effortlessly make, and we are running our own race, remember. So off she goes. I'm on the first big climb up Connect, which is much steeper and much longer than I remember from the recce's, and I'm for the first time actually pausing for breath, and I don't do that on climbs. I'm one of these relentless, just keep a nice steady rhythm, keep climbing. So that was concerning, and when I got up to the top of Connect and had to do a bit of scrambling, yeah, the cramps were properly back, and that was slow progress as well because I couldn't find a scramble route that involved a short step. I had to find ones that involved short steps rather than big steps, so that was faffing and time wasted as well. So to cut a long story short, hit the top at about 8:10, and the guidance time is 8 o'clock. And you might say that's just 10 minutes, but it's not good. They do plan these guidance times very well, and if you leave at bang on 6 o'clock, you don't really want to be falling behind the guidance times on the first one. The descent is huge. Most people bump slide it. I didn't. I thought to myself, I'll find a zigzag line. Got a terrible line, got myself in all sorts of trouble coming down there. I was all over the place in ridiculous terrain. I should have just bum slid it like everybody else, to be fair. And if I ever go back again, not likely, then that would be the way to tackle Connect's descent. Anyway, progress, kept on slipping behind those cut-offs. I was with a guy called Martin, who we met on our Ourea Adventures recce as well, and we were following the right line. We weren't getting lost. We were sort of moving. We never really stopped, but progress just was not anything like the sort of pace required, and consequently we got to about 3 miles from the water point, and Martin pressed on, and I just tried to stay safe and keep moving, but I could feel this day properly slipping away from myself, and consequently I did hit the water point at 10 minutes before cut-off. Now that's a whole 50 minutes outside of guidance, and I know full well what the terrain is after the water point, and there's no way in a million years I would have got to the next point, drop bags, inside cut-off. I'd have been way outside. And you might think, well, that's an interesting, why would you make that decision when you're inside? Just crack on. It is one of those things that when you've recce'd and you know your built body, you know what pace you're moving at, you know what state you're in, it's a very easy decision to make. And to be fair, the proof was borne out because Izzy was way ahead of me on that water point, and she ended up getting into camp at 10 to 10, so 10 minutes to spare before camp shut. Martin, as I said, cracked on, but then I saw him later on in the pub because he turned back and realised it was folly to carry on, and we found out later that another lady who was with us at that same cut, probably just only a minute behind me I would imagine, did carry on, and she got to drop bags 2 hours outside of cuts. So you know, all of these stories are just testament that it was the right thing to do. So Dragon's Back full course is over. Hatchling it is, and what a different experience. So finish at the water. Right, what do I do now then? Go down the pub, wait there for 2 hours, and then a bus will take you back to camp at 2 o'clock, come pick you up. So burger, Coke, coffee, chill out, coach back, 2 o'clock, back in camp by 3 o'clock. What a different experience. Chips, because dinner don't even open for 3 hours. Admin at your leisure, take your time, chill out, daylight. And then of course I can track Izzy and see that she's just scraping those cuts. And I didn't stay up to see her come in at 9:50 because, to be frank, I was pretty spent, and I knew that if I was going to actually have any chance of finishing even as a hatchling, recharge was the order of the day. So I went to bed at I think 7:30, and I got up at 7 o'clock, and I did sleep. I slept really well. And the reason I got up at 7 o'clock is because I decided I was going to do the second half of day 3, because it would give me the biggest chance to have a good full-on recovery. So day 3, Izzy, bless her heart, was out at 6 o'clock, bang on the nose, having got through day 2. So impressed with her. And yeah, I get to have 2 hours in mountainous, something like that, isn't it? Anyway, and it was pouring with rain. They'd activated the cold weather kit rule for today because the weather was so bad, and all we could do is sit in cafes, isn't it? So I went into 2 cafes, had 2 coffees, and then I thought to myself, I've still got loads of time to kill, so I can't keep on just going in coffee all day. So I went into the library and sat in the library and read a book until the time when we were allowed to set off, which we were told was going to be 1 o'clock. But I ambled down there about 10 to 1, and they said we can go straight away, and a few of the hatchlings had already set off. There's Holly. I think she might be leading the ladies. Oh, right up there. Absolutely motoring. I've only just started. She got here already. Okay, welcome to the very first bit of footage on Dragon's Back Course 25, because I'm a hatchling now, so I don't mind filming things. We have got wild weather. Izzy is still in the race, so she's on day 3, which is awesome. I'm tracking her, but she might catch a up. I hope she does, because I think she's doing really well. And yeah, I will record more bits now that I'm a hatchling, and I'll even give you a little summary and capture up there how I'm feeling now of the process that I'll get through day 2. So, bye for now, folks. The rolling hills of Normandy, and you know, dark woods and whatnot. So these are the headlines of my journey so far. This is Wednesday. I've left for the second half of the hatchling course. Day 1, got through it, and I was so overjoyed, and actually felt quite good as well. Thought I'd left enough to be really healthy for the next day. Turns out I hadn't eaten up on the course. So day 2, from the off, I thought this isn't working. And then I was cramping up left, right and centre, couldn't do the big drops and things, and ended up timing out at the water point. Even though I got there 5 minutes before it closed, it was just a case of knowing I'd never make it into camp. So I wanted to enjoy the rest of this holiday, get some enjoyable hatchling courses in. Haven't recorded this bit, which is the reason I would have chosen this, apart from the fact they gave me a good night's sleep and a lot of time to chill. So let's see how the rest of this lovely week goes. I say I'm still so much in awe of Izzy though. Can't believe what she's doing. Beautiful cow for Izzy to come across when she gets here. She'll love that. Look at the weather, man. Look at the weather. I'm going to come through for you. Second half, 15 miles, about 4,000 odd feet of climbing, I think. One particular big climb. Weather absolutely appalling. At the top of the big climb was howl, wind. Do you know what? All I'm thinking is, I'm just doing this second half, and poor old Izzy is going to hit this second half with 25 miles and as much climbing in her legs already. Oh my gosh, I tell you what, I was so proud of her, so proud of her. Anyway, it wasn't that harsh an outing, 15 miles for us. I got to admit, I was well recovered, had no DOMs and no cramps, and covered the ground quite well, to be fair, as you would expect, as a refreshed hatchling. Right there, down there, I can see it, right down there. Day 3 camp. It's over there.
Well done. Hello. Hello.
How's Izzy doing on the old track? So I did stay up this time though to see how Izzy was getting on. Now we'd heard, she'd phoned Nacho, her boyfriend, and said that she's got terrible Achilles problems and it's really looking doubtful she's going to finish the day. However, she found 2 ladies, Annie and Sarah, to latch onto, and according to her tracker I could see that she was one of the headlights coming down the mountainside at around about 8:45. Now, can you see those headlights up there on the hill? One of those is Isabelle, and she should be in by 9 o'clock tonight on her 3rd day of Dragon's Back. And sure enough, it was Izzy, because they all got in at 9:15. Izzy, well done, Izzy! I'm so proud of you. Oh my God. Izzy. Did you work together, you three? Yeah. Oh, bless.
Yeah, and then we picked up these 2. I've really given up 50 for this guy. I texted my family and like, I'm not Very today. Come with us. I was like, okay, that's when you go. I'm sticking with you. I'm sticking with you. And that's what's.
And closed out day 3. So what an achievement, what an achievement. Obviously I congratulated her, and then I said I'm going to go off to bed and I'll start with you tomorrow, Izzy, at 6 o'clock, and we'll see how day 4 goes for you. So up at 4:30, polished admin. I didn't have anything to do really, I'd done it already, didn't I? So don't even know why I got up at 4:30, far too early. But it did give me a chance to see Gareth, who was still on the full course. Wish him well as well. He was looking in high spirits going into day 4. And then I set off at 6. I had to wait for Izzy because she didn't get into the pen quick enough. She set off at 6:05. Well, good morning and welcome to Thursday. Just waiting for Isabelle. Have a good day, mate. Yeah, just waiting for Isabelle because she amazingly got through day 3 as well. Can you believe it? And in good time, and with an Achilles injury. She got in about 9:15. However, I'm going to set off with her today and do the first half, maybe the whole thing. We'll see about that. I'd have to really up on the checkpoints, and obviously it would be if Isabelle's got through as well. But yeah, we're going to take this first half together. Hopefully give us some moral support. She is doing so awesome. I'm so proud of her. She's a bit broken, but she'll be along in a minute. She got 6:05 start. I got out at 6. And then we pressed on through day 4 together. Miserable weather again, but nothing like what it had been. And the terrain was, yeah, a bit runnable and a bit mixed, but nothing like day 1 and day 2. Now, up ahead there is the other father-daughter relationship out on this course. Carwyn and... I haven't got the names right, have I? No, I'll have to put little titles up with their proper names. But yeah, but they're both on the full course still. But of course, here's his full course, huh? But I'm hatchling. Right, mighty dragon. I'm going to watch the Mum's going to watch the film in Cardiff.
Very close up.
I know. Izzy, to be fair, then after about 2 and a bit hours said, Dad, you know what, here's Annie and Sarah again. They're pressing on. I think I need to press on with them if I'm going to get this full day done. And so I bid her farewell, said I'm just quite happy just having a jolly up on my hatchling outing, making quite happy progress. You press on, and she did. But about 2 hours later, I caught up with her again. And Annie and Sarah had pressed on, and Izzy was in, yeah, let's say her legs were destroyed by now. It was all catching up with her. So we hobbled into the water point together, 20 miles of day 4 done, and she made, even though she was an hour inside cut-off, she made the hard decision to stop there and call her Dragon's Journey. And yeah, I called it as well, obviously, because I was only going to do half a day anyway. So Izzy went home, had a shower, and then went back to Keswick, and I'm left in camp for 2 days. But now my sufferfest starts, because my feet, when I finished that leg of day 4, were so darn swollen that I think I'd gone up about a shoe size, maybe a shoe size and a half, and I hadn't bought any other shoes with me. So it's a case of just ram those feet into those shoes and carry on. Thankfully in camp I had these like slippers almost to wear, like neoprene barefoot shoes, like slippers, so there was no pressure on the feet during the daytime, but it was only ever going to be when I put my trail shoes back on. So Friday morning I had, of course, the choice of 2 hatchling courses. There's the first half, which is 24 miles, mainly runnable and not too much of a climb, except for perhaps the latter part of that section. Or you can do the full-on Brecons, Penny Fan, and on all the big climbs, 20 miles, which is the second half of the hatchling course. So I was dilly-dallying, and in the end I thought, you know what, I want to do whatever I can get out of my shoes as quick as possible. And so therefore I opted for the first half, even though it's longer, on the basis of a lot of it being runnable. And I'm glad I did, because I set off at 6 o'clock with, I saw Gareth again, and he's still in the main event, which is absolutely awesome. And I set off with, yeah, most of the full dragons, because very few hatchlings decided to do the first half of day 5. And it's lovely to run with the full dragons, have a little chat about them, with them, about their story, and then, you know, give them as many words of encouragement as I can. Just let them know I am a hatchling, and that's why I'm full of beans and jogging quite well. And of course then I would actually, yeah, move on a little bit ahead because I've got fresher legs, but they understood that because they knew I was a hatchling. And the notorious day 5. Now I'm obviously a hatchling, and there's so many guys still in, including Gareth Perrin from Ourea Events Team. We're really rooting for him today and taking on the whole of leg 5, and hopefully he'll get to Cardiff as well. Really rooting for him. I, however, have chosen the less scenic, more runnable half, because I still can't get my feet in the trainers, and I want to get these trainers off my feet as quick as possible. So hopefully cover the ground a bit quicker on this half. Second half though, far more scenic, far more beautiful, and I've done that. I've reckoned it in sunshine before. Hi mate.
Right, pal.
Have a good one, Darren.
How do you know, pal? Almost there.
Almost there.
Yeah. Today we're digging deep. Today. Digging deep.
You got it. Shoelace up a bit tighter. I've been very gingerly tight in the much morning because of my swollen feet, and now they've fallen off my feet. I want to get blisters. But that's the luxury you've got as a hatchling. You can stop and do things like that. If I was on the full course, chasing times, which will never happen, I would be probably just putting up with it. It's chalk and cheese, the experience of full courses. over hatchlings. Hatchling is still an adventure. I mean, it's 20 miles today and about 4,000, 5,000 I think feet of climbing, and maybe more actually on the leg I'm doing. A couple of river crossings, but then I don't have to do the Brecon Beacons straight afterwards. What an adventure. Really enjoying this. Would I be enjoying it if I was on the full course? Probably not. From our recce, you see, that first bit out of camp at mile 1.7 of the slate mine was a bit tricky to navigate. Fortunately, a whole raft of full course dragons to get me through it. Hopefully won't get lost again now. Beautiful morning. I'm so privileged to be out here and actually have time to enjoy and savour as well. This is absolutely amazing. Look at that. And oh, here's a hatchling. I have the luxury of going to the patisserie and get myself a almond croissant. Yeah, I'm going to get myself an almond croissant and a cup of coffee as well, and then crack on. But, yeah, 9 miles in. It's thanks mate. It's absolutely wonderful seeing all these actual full course dragons and trying to give them a bit of support and encouragement. I'm in awe of them. I really am in awe of them. I mean, I'm here with the 6 o'clock start people who are largely hiking with the odd little shuffle run every now and again. But it'll get them there. It'll get them there, especially if they can keep that powering up the peaks over in the Brecons. Yeah, it's just such an experience to be with them. It really is. Anyway, here's the patisserie just around the corner, so I'm going to go get my croissant. Thanks. Organised. Look at that. Thank you very much. Cheers.
We'll put you in the blue.
Yeah, cool. But it was a lovely experience just to share that with so many of them. And yeah, that day 5, apart from my feet being absolute flipping agony, was really enjoyable. Had time to pop into Llandovery and have a patisserie and croissant and coffee, and still make all of the checkpoints in good time and good order. And consequently, weather was a lot better. which I think helped progress, and consequently got to the halfway or the 24-mile point where the water was with about 50 minutes to spare. And did I have thoughts of carrying on and seeing what I could do for the whole day, or see if I could get through the whole day? Not on your Nelly. My feet were absolutely killing me, so straight off with those shoes. Straight off with those shoes. Now, I'd made a bit of a mistake on day 5. I'd put my hilly toe socks on, which are a lot thinner than my Injinji, which means I got a massive blister on the back of my left foot, and virtually all the skin had come off. So went to see the medics. They're very good. They cut all the spare skin off with their scalpels, and then they put a load of that tape round to protect it, and gave it enough protection to get through day 6. So, for those that want to know, the tents are all numbered. Put them in order. Yeah, I'm the first to arrive because I'm a hatchling, because these guys, I think, are all full course people. We'll be out there for a while, and this has been my sort of sleeping cabin. I haven't got somebody to share anymore, and yeah, so you just have to get out, get your lilo blown up, get your sleeping bag in, get that all set up, then go have a wash, and then sort everything out. Everybody on day 6 hatchling is going to do the second half, of course, because we all want to run into Cardiff Castle, and it's just a case of get those feet back in those shoes, tie the laces up as tight as you can, cut the blood supply off so you can't hardly feel anything, and just get on with it. And we had a little bit of faffing about. We had to get a minibus out of camp, and then we had to wait an hour, and then we get a coach to roughly halfway down the course where there was the remaining 20-ish or nearly 20 miles, and we all set off together. There's a mass start at 11 o'clock, I think, from memory. Yeah, 11 o'clock, and immediately I just put myself into a jog. I said, come on, this is probably the easiest part of the terrain. Time to get some riding in. That didn't really last that long, because I think I was probably underestimating how much toll even the hatchling course takes out of you. But I was moving well and moving fast, and my watch said 4:15 arrival time in Cardiff, so I thought, well, you might as well set yourself a target of 4 o'clock and see if that's doable. And so much of it after we had one climb on our section, one climb really, maybe 2, but nothing to speak of, and most of it was downhill, and a lot of it was on terrain just like this, like the Flitch Way, the Taff Trail it was called. Out on the Dragon's Back course 2025. Didn't do it all, but had a ball. Still alive, looking to thrive. I know why I'm here, because I love fear. Yeah, Trefan. Didn't get enough fear on Crib Goch this year though.
Go on, Steve! Well done, Steve!
Brilliant work.
Nice up!
That was really nice back there. I just saw Luca, who was on my recce weekend, going over Crib Goch, just in front of me. And he's out there cheering on the crowd. Yeah, that gives you a little lift. And look behind me. Trust me, this is not the Flitch Way. Not the Flitch Way. It's the Taff Trail. It's in Cardiff. In Cardiff. And sure enough, at 3:59, I arrived in Cardiff Castle. And do you know what? I think I said on my write-up of this, I can't help feeling a little bit like all these other fall dragons are coming in around you, and you want to be one of them really when you come into Cardiff, because that's the real massive achievement. And when you've set yourself up to do the full course in conditioning wise, the hatchling, even though it is still a massive outing, just feels like so much easier. So you feel like you don't even deserve the applause coming into Cardiff Castle. I can't help it, it's just the way it is, because it's just such a easier experience because of the time in camp, the time to recover and everything else. Don't get me wrong, hatchling is still a big Welsh adventure. You know, the terrain, you're still doing half the course, you're still doing the same sort of terrain, you're still doing big mile days. Most of us especially myself, had never done back-to-back big days like that. 129 miles I ended up with is a huge training week. 35,000 feet of climbing is a huge training week. The terrain, which nobody really, Strava can't describe terrain, can it? Is, you know, a big training week. So yeah, but for me, the most elation of coming into Cardiff is the fact that I haven't got to sleep in a tent that night and I don't have to run in the morning. I can just literally have a pint of Guinness and chill and clap in a few more full dragons and relax.
From the UK, Teresa Reason. From, I haven't got a nationality, but number 30.
And you know what? At 7:15ish, Gareth Perrin came in as a full dragon. And I tell you what, I had to go and congratulate him. Naturally, he said it's the hardest thing he's ever done. I tell you that Gareth, everybody's a hero. 90 dragons came in, 90 of them full course. But Gareth, for me, because he's a similar, as I say, sort of athlete to me, I know that getting in at 9ish each night, probably in the dark, just cracking on straight out at 6 again, for him will have taken just about everything he's got. And then 10 minutes later, he had to go up on the stage to collect his dragon trophy. So he didn't even get a chance to chill out before he got there, but at least he got in before the presentation and had his special moment. So well done, Gareth. You are my true inspiration, and I know you're going to take a year off running now, and you deserve that break, mate, and hopefully I'll see you in 2027 out on some big ultras maybe. So there you go. Nice posh hotel in Cardiff to go and chill out in afterwards. Nice shower, and then a week in Woolacombe. Even though the weather was awful, I just chilled out and we just went for gentle walks. We didn't really go do much at all, to be honest. Heart rate metrics were all over the place in Woolacombe. It took a long time for them to settle down, so clearly the week had taken its toll physically. Weather was awful and only got in the sea by about Thursday or maybe even Friday, because even though it was a good swell and I love a bit of body surfing, I just couldn't face it. I was just too spent. So there you go. Done a couple of runs since, did an interval session on Monday this week, and I did a light run along here on Wednesday. Legs feel fine, heart rate is the problem. It just jumps up really fast and is all a bit still over the place. So I'll probably take it easy the rest of this week. And then we got the Westminster Mile next weekend, not tomorrow, but next weekend. So it will be a case of Steve's Dragon's Back to Mile, rather than mile to Dragon's Back. So we'll see how that mile goes. Nice to break 6 minutes. That'll be a good benchmark to come back from and get back into the serious stuff. What will I do with the channel? Well, I'll tell you what I'll do first of all is I'll thank everybody who's watched up to now. It was delightful to have people, random people I'd never met before, come up and say I've been watching your videos. And yeah, I mean, I suppose that is the target audience, isn't it? The people who are doing Dragon's Back. So not surprising there would be a few people up there who've watched these. So thanks to you people, thanks to everybody who's watched them and supported the channel. It's been a great journey. I say it inspired me to keep going. And thanks also to everybody who sent Dragon Mail in camp. That is so much fun to read, especially when you're still out on the falls course. Day one's Dragon Mail really gave me a lift, but it gave me a lift through the whole week as well, especially when my feet were absolutely killing me. So thank you for that. The Dragon Mail is a wonderful part of the whole experience. Now the channel, yeah, well, I mean, you know, it can't exactly carry on in its current guise, is it? Because it was a weekly document of training for the Dragon's Back. However, what I do, I'll leave the title as Steve's Mile to Dragon's Back, because I'm going to, every now and again, when I do big events, big ultras or big miles or just any races, I suppose, I will document them, and I'll also throw in odd thoughts about training generally. I mean, I am a running coach, and doing the Dragon's Back training has given me so many more tools to help people generally with running across what is now the whole spectrum of just racing short distances like the mile right through to multi-day ultras. So yeah, I'll probably throw in little snippets of those sort of things as well, but it won't be weekly. It'll be ad hoc as and when there's events, I suppose, or ideas come to mind. So enough said. I hope this was interspersed with enough photos and videos to make it half interesting. I know it's been long and I've just talked as it's all come out of my mouth, so that I won't edit it. It'll just be the true and accurate reflections of the Dragon's Back experience. So thanks for watching. As always, stay healthy, look after yourself, and bye for now.